Today, or this evening, we're going to have an exciting discussion about the 10-year anniversary of the U.S.-Bahrain Free Trade Agreement. And we're hoping that the discussion will focus not only on a backward look of the past 10 years, the reasons that the Free Trade Agreement was signed in the first place, and the accomplishments, of which there are many of the past 10 years, but also looking forward to the next 10 years and beyond of the Free Trade Agreement. First of all, I'd like to thank our host, the Bahrain Chamber of Commerce and Industry, for graciously hosting us this evening for this valuable discussion. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Economic and Commercial Officer at the U.S. Embassy here in Bahrain. And part of my job is to promote U.S. exports to Bahrain and Bahraini investment in the United States. So this is a very timely discussion, and I look forward in a little bit to hearing from our panelists about their experiences with the Free Trade Agreement. But before that, I'd like to welcome Mr. Khalid Al-Zayani to the podium. He is the first Deputy Chairman of the Bahrain Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the members of the board and myself, on behalf of the business community in Bahrain, it is truly my pleasure to welcome you to the Chamber this evening. Today, we are celebrating a milestone in our relationship, trade relationship between the US and Bahrain. 10 years, and we have to look at what achievements we've made since then. I remember when we were negotiating this trade agreement in Washington, I was then with the chamber, with AmCham as president, and it was truly a pleasure to meet with the different people in the United States and to explain how good it is of an idea to promote relations between Bahrain and the United States, and it has worked well. Well, let's see what we have done since then. What we have achieved is 100% increase in 1 year for Bahrain, which is a major achievement, and a 68% for the US. Today, we have $2 billion of trade between the US and Bahrain. And this is just the beginning. And the main items sold and bought during that period were machinery, aircraft, vehicles, agricultural products, and the imports from Bahrain were fertilizers, aluminium, textiles, apparel, and organic chemicals. And this is, as I said, just the beginning. There is a great opportunity for Bahraini businessmen to take advantage of the Free Trade Agreement. And I'm afraid not many of them have done so. The state of Bahrain, the United States of America and Kingdom of Bahrain have laid an agreement framework for us to take advantage of, and we have not taken actively that advantage and made fortune with it. There is a lot more to be done, and we should be, the Chamber, advising people on how that can be done. We have done that in the past, but it takes guts within the Bahraini business community itself to go and find out what can be done to expand their market to the world's largest market, the United States of America. Bahrain has 3 major prime industries: aluminium, petrochemicals, and steel, iron ore. We have seen only few downstream industries active in that field. The income for whoever invests in these downstream industries is far greater than selling commodities out of Bahrain to make industry somewhere else. We invite American investors to come and invest in Bahrain and take advantage of raw materials at the source. This would be of a great advantage for them, and we invite Bahraini business community to do exactly the same in Bahrain, and as I said, not just go and sell in the United States, but also manufacture and sell in the United States. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you a great meeting, great exchanges. We have great speakers, amongst them my brother, so they must be great. And have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Khalid. I'd now like to ask Ambassador William Roebuck to come to the podium to deliver opening remarks.
Good evening, everyone. I'll be brief with my remarks. Delighted to see you here for this event tonight. I'll thank a few people. Clearly, the first thing I wanted to say was about the free trade agreement. The question that I often get asked is, why aren't we able to do more? What more can we do? As my good friend Khalid just alluded in his own remarks, this is the big theme that we will explore tonight, and it's in some ways a never-ending theme. The free trade agreement is a very powerful tool, but it takes specific inquiries by specific businesses to determine how best to use it. But we'll save that part, the real substance of the discussion, for this distinguished panel. First, I want to say a word or two of thanks to people. First, to the Bahrain Chamber of Industry and Commerce for hosting this important event. The BCCI has long been a very important promoter for bilateral trade between the two countries, and I look forward to continuing to work with BCCI to strengthen U.S.-Bahrain economic ties. I also want to thank the American Chamber of Commerce, AmCham, for participating and helping out with this event. AmCham is the premier event, the premier organization, in my view, for networking among businessmen, expatriate businessmen, Bahraini businessmen, trying to encourage foreign investment, both here in Bahrain and in the United States. I also want to thank the Ministry of Commerce and Tourism, Industry, Commerce and Tourism, for joining us here tonight and participating in this event. I've recently completed 1 year here, a little more than a year now, as ambassador. I thought it might be useful to highlight, just in summary fashion, a few of my experiences with companies that have benefited from the free trade agreement. Shortly after I arrived, I attended the stone-laying ceremony for the American company Mondelez International. They were doing the initial work on the expansion of their plant. There was a $90 million biscuit plant, or cookie plant, that I attended alongside His Excellency Zayed Zayani. And that work is now underway. Since then, I've seen several other U.S. companies expand their operations, including Citi Bahrain, which opened an Arabic language call center in 2015, and West Point Home, which announced a major expansion of its existing plant last year, and they're well underway with that. A very impressive operation they have here. It's not only, of course, U.S. companies that have benefited from the free trade agreement, but also Bahraini companies. BFG International, a Bahraini company, recently announced that it would open a plant in Columbia, Tennessee. BFG benefited from the assistance of Select USA, the U.S. government program charged with attracting inward FDI, or foreign direct investment, into the United States in making its decision to invest. And by the way, on Select USA, I attended that summit last year with the first ever Bahraini delegation, again with my good friend Khalid Zayani. I encourage businessmen, businesswomen who are interested this year in participating in the summit. It will be in June in Washington, D.C. President Obama came last year, as did Secretary Kerry. So, a lot of accomplishments with the free trade agreement. As I said, the panel today is going to talk about ways forward. We've got the 10th anniversary now that we're celebrating. Of course, the free trade agreement does not end. It continues, but we will be looking for fresh, creative ways to use it in the future. Many of the bigger companies here in Bahrain have benefited from it. I hope that with some added expertise and some creative thinking, we can find ways for some entrepreneurs, some small and medium enterprises to also benefit from the free trade agreement. And I hope that some of the programs that we've sponsored in the past have stimulated the creative juices in this way. For example, the Commercial Law and Diplomacy Program, CLDP. Thank you again for being here, and I look forward to this great panel to lead us on a good, interesting discussion. Thank you very much.
So now I'd like to introduce our three distinguished panelists for this evening. I will introduce each one of them, and then each one will give a short presentation, followed by a question and answer period from the audience. First of all, seated closest to me is Mr. Jason Bunton. Jason is the Director for Europe and Middle East Affairs at the Office of the United States Trade Representative. In that position, he's responsible for coordinating U.S. trade policy related to various countries in the Gulf Cooperation Council, as well as in the European Free Trade Area and the Caucasus. Jason is also responsible for increasing U.S. engagement on trade issues with these countries, including through free trade agreements like the one that exists between the U.S. and Bahrain, whose anniversary we're celebrating this week. In addition to free trade agreements, he also works to promote trade and investment framework agreements which exist with many countries in this region. And prior to joining the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative, he served in the Commerce Department for the U.S. government as well. Seated next to Jason is Ms. Mary Simon. She is the Chief Operating Officer for West Point Home, and she served in that capacity since early 2015. West Point Home is a core home textile products company which has its main headquarters in New York, but also has a major production facility here in Bahrain, and has offices in South Carolina, Florida, as well as in the United Arab Emirates. Prior to joining West Point Home, she also held senior leadership positions at Milliken & Company, as well as with General Motors. And of note to everybody here, West Point Home recently was announced as the new co-chair for the U.S.-Bahrain Business Council. Very important position in terms of promoting bilateral trade between the United States and Bahrain. And finally, seated to her right, if you're facing them, is Mr. Hamid Al-Zayani. He is the managing director for Midal Cable. And during his time with the company, he has helped it grow into a multinational firm with operations around the world, but which had its infancy right here in Bahrain. In addition to the core manufacturing facility here in Bahrain, Midal also has operations in Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Australia, and Mozambique. And they have marketing offices in North America, South Asia, Asia Pacific, and Sub-Saharan Africa. And in addition to his work with Midal Cable, he also serves as a founder and partner in Al-Zayani Investments, and he previously served as the president of the American Chamber of Commerce here in Bahrain. So now that you are acquainted with them, Jason, why don't you kick off with your presentation?
Good evening. Thank you for having me here. I'd like to thank First Deputy Chairman Al-Zayani and the Bahrain Chamber of Commerce and Industry for organizing this event, as well as for all of you for being here. from the private sector, some colleagues from the Bahraini government, including Jamil Al-Alawi, who I've known for many years, the AmCham, Ambassador Roebuck, and other colleagues from the U.S. Embassy, and then my colleagues here on the panel. Looking forward to this discussion on how we can work together on to increase the effectiveness and productivity of the Bahrain-U.S. Free Trade Agreement. I wanted to note that while I'm here in Manama, I'll plan to participate in some other events that are celebrating the 10th anniversary of this historic agreement. And then also taking an opportunity to catch up with some of the many Bahraini friends that I've made here over the years. I'm sure as you all are very aware, Bahrain and the United States have a strong, broad bilateral relationship with cooperation spanning many of the economic and security issues confronting the Middle East region and the world. Not only is the Free Trade Agreement a successful example of the strength of those ties, but I'm proud to also consider that the agreement is a personal success, the result of many days, weeks, and months of working long hours with Bahraini colleagues like Jamil and others to make those ties even stronger. And we have worked together successfully, I think, to create a high standard, broad-based framework to promote economic growth and prosperity in both our countries by removing trade barriers and expanding opportunities for Bahraini and U.S. stakeholders, not only well-known companies, but as Ambassador Roebuck and others have mentioned, opportunities for small and medium-sized enterprises to participate in both of our markets. As a bit of context regarding this agreement, I would note that Bahrain is one of only 20 countries with which the United States has free trade agreements in force, including partners here in the region, Oman, Morocco, and Jordan, as well as Canada, South Korea, Australia, Singapore, and then a number of countries in the Americas. Recently, the United States has also completed negotiation of a regional Asia-Pacific trade agreement known as the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, or TPP, and we are currently in negotiation with the European Union on what's called the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, or TTIP. TTIP. We love acronyms. Although when compared to other countries, the United States may have a relatively small number of free trade agreements, this is indicative of the very high standard, broad-based type of commitments to market opening and expanding economic opportunity that we and our trading partners, including Bahrain, expect to find in such an agreement. The Bahrain-U.S. Free Trade Agreement is quite comprehensive, eliminating tariffs and other barriers on substantially all bilateral goods and services trade, thereby promoting economic growth and commercial opportunities for our private sectors, including all of you. Although the market openings for goods and services are the easiest to quantify and therefore gain the most attention, with over 20 individual chapters along with the separate tariff and services schedules, the agreement includes provisions that benefit a range of sectors in both of our economies. And some of these chapters cover, among a range of other issues, things like government procurement, electronic commerce, telecommunications, customs administration, rules of origin, intellectual property, labor, and environment. I think some of our colleagues noted the trade flows and investment flows between the United States and how much they've increased over the 10 years, and then some of the products that have been traded to date. We look forward to expanding that range of products and finding new opportunities. I would note that, at least in my view, we shouldn't just be content with successful negotiation of this agreement, and I think as others have referenced, we should be working to increase awareness of the opportunities provided by the FTA and work together to find ways to move that process forward. Given my own personal stake in this agreement, I am certainly willing and interested in working with all of you toward that end. In addition, although the FTA was considered state-of-the-art at the time it entered into force, with the changes in the global economy over the past 10 years, we might also explore possible opportunities related to new and emerging issues. The ambassador referenced small and medium-sized enterprises. We might also look into entrepreneurs. Other hot topics these days, at least in the trade world, are supply chains, customs and trade facilitation, information and communication technology, tariffs and services, principles for international investment and consumer protection, among others. And I'm very interested in any other ideas that you all might have. So with that said, like I said, I look forward to the discussion tonight with all of you, but also a continued dialogue on how we can work together to expand the use and success of this historic free trade agreement, and hope we get some ideas tonight on how to do that. Thank you.
My name is Mary Simon, and I am the Chief Operating Officer of West Point Home. I've been active in the textile community. That trade agreements have been a challenge to our industry. Anyone who's in textiles, I think, would agree with that. It's a matter of, deciding where you need to be and when you need to be there, and taking advantage of all the various opportunities that are created by the trade agreements around the world. In 2006, West Point made its stake in the ground here in Bahrain right after the free trade agreement. It was very fortuitous for us as a company. The company was struggling in the United States for lots of different reasons, and was looking for facilities, investment in the high growth region of the world. And it just so happened that it was a perfect marriage at that point between West Point Home and the Kingdom of Bahrain that allowed us to find facilities that were well suited for our operations, but it also allowed us to take advantage of the free trade agreement, the TPL agreement, and one of the world's fastest growing marketplaces. We have been in operation for 200 years. We're very proud of that, kind of who we are and what we do. Again, we are a global home textile company, about $200 million in revenue. 50% basically of that revenue generates right here in the Kingdom of Bahrain. The other 50% comes from source partners around the world. What we do, we basically, again, make bedding products, sheets, comforters, duvet sets, quilts, basically anything that you would find in the home. We also have a large and growing market in the hospitality segment for the hotel industry. These are some of our largest customers. Target is serviced both out of the U.S. and with regular shipments right here from the port in Bahrain. Proud of our relationship and growing relationship with people like Target, Bed Bath & Beyond, Costco, Macy's, Belk, so all the big retailers. We have many, many home brands. This is one of our core strengths as a company, is brand development. These are our house brands that are well known around the world. We also have many licensed brands that we do, from Ralph Lauren to Izod, a local regional brand in South Carolina, Southern Tide. Again, we're very proud of those. We do a significant amount of design and development for private label for all the retailers as well. I think one of the things that allows us to continue to be successful in Bahrain is our commitment to innovation. While we live in a challenging market, we try to make sure that we stay on top of what our customers need and want in their market in a unique and meaningful way to them. So you'll see that we are a leader in innovation in our market. Our hospitality division, as I mentioned, is about 30% of the revenue of the company, and with a growing presence here in the Gulf region, we hope to continue to grow with our new office in Dubai. We're committed to sustainability, both here and in all of the markets that we service. We work on that through not only energy and water conservation, which are very important to both the cost and sustainability of our business, but also take very high measures in our social responsibility in our operations here and around the globe. Again, our facilities, our design and merchandising office in New York City, our operations center in Clemson, which is where I'm located from. We have light manufacturing and distribution in Florida. Our Shanghai office is a sourcing office that sources about 30% of our revenue. And then obviously the asset base that we're most proud of are our assets here in Bahrain with the 4 manufacturing plants we have located here in the Kingdom of Bahrain. The investment that we've made, our total invested asset base here on the island is about $190 million. We have made nearly $60 million of new investment since West Point took ownership of the Manama Textiles in 2006. We've upgraded our wastewater treatment facilities, we've added weaving capacity, we've added spinning several times. In fact, we're in the process of adding new spinning. We would love for any of you who would like to come and see our operations. One of the things we're most proud of is I've run manufacturing around the world, and I would put these Bahraini plants up against any plant I've ever run anywhere in the world. And again, we would like to thank the Bahraini ministries and the government for their continued strong support each time we make investment. Some of the benefits we see of the free trade agreement and manufacturing in Bahrain, obviously duty-free import into the U.S., especially under the terms where we have the TPL, very beneficial to us, and we're a differentiator for us versus China and some other places, where it allowed us to exercise our innovation in an environment we felt was very secure. The duty exemption for some of our incoming materials, we've always been encouraged around our capital investments, diverse workforce that we're able to draw upon from South Asia, our local employment for key areas of the company. It's a very stable infrastructure and environment to operate in, and we've received over the years much support in terms of training support for our manufacturing and our leadership associates. So these are some of the benefits we see of being located here in Bahrain. And as a newcomer to the Bahrain scene, I can tell you that all of our customers who come here to visit come here, and we use it as a sales and marketing tool. They're very impressed with our facilities here. They're very impressed with the environment here. Anyone that we can get to come to the island or the Kingdom of Bahrain leaves with a favorable impression, not only of West Point Home, but of the business environment here. And we encourage our customers as much as we can, because we know once they've seen our facilities here, they're going to buy from us and become a partner. So it's been a very good relationship. Thank you.
Good evening, Your Excellency. Gives me great pleasure to be here to tell you the story of Medal and the export to the United States. It's been a natural thing for me, as I'm educated in an American university, and that makes me understand American culture and takes me there at home in a way. We have always enjoyed some free trade agreement before the FTA was signed. It was under status of, I think, what was called GPS. But we knew that that was a short-term arrangement. With the coming of the FTA, it gives us a long-term commitment and long-term vision. But before I want to start with the United States, let me tell you why Medal has taken off from a local company to an international company. I have great thanks to a Kuwaiti friend of mine who took a mickey out of Bahrain by saying, even your little country has a cable plant. What are you going to supply from where to where? I didn't take that joke lightly. I decided that I say, well, if we come from the smallest point of the world, let's make the world our territory. And with that, it turned our vision. The first internationalization of Medal. I remember we were in a conference in San Francisco. It's an annual aluminum conference. And that conference at that time, we didn't have even a brochure. Medal was just a couple of years old. And we were there, we'd seen markets, and we were selling only regionally. And in that conference, something struck my mind. I said, why don't we go international? And we didn't have even any material then, and there was, of course, no internet and no virtual media that we have now. So I was talking to the manager then, and I said, let's do something, let's do it right away. So we took a piece of paper, handwritten, say we supply the following products, and we went down to a very helpful lady at the reception of Sheraton San Francisco. And if you remember something that you don't see anymore, there were pigeonholes for the residents and each where the key is. And we have photocopied 100 pages of normal paper that Midal, we supply such and such. And we asked this beautiful lady to put a paper in each pigeonhole. To our surprise, we got inquiries. Poland, Switzerland, United States. And then we gave them our first quote, and they accepted it instantly. So we realized that something is wrong, our price is too low. So we started raising the price without even knowing what's the market price internationally, because we had no experience in that. So we started raising the price, we find out that the margins are a lot healthier in the international market than the markets. And I'm not talking just the US market at the time, I'm talking about selling to many places. So till we find the equilibrium, we find out that the margins are healthier. That's the time that we decided that we'll make Midal an international company, truly and truly. And that's the time when I have realized that that joke that the Kuwaiti wanted to make me for was a grace from God. Anyhow, we got moving very well, and we start operating from one source, which is Bahrain. And we expanded Midal from a humble 12,000 ton to what it was then, about 50,000 ton. And then we realized that there are times that you have to be closer to your customer, and you have to serve your customer in a more personal way. So we start opening international offices. Selected our first office to be in Heathrow. The reason why in Heathrow, because I wanted our managers to look at the runway to see that he is not there to serve the British market, wanted them to look at all these hundreds of flights that fly to the United States from there, and hundreds of flights traveling to all over the world. And still we maintain that office, and that office has been instrumental in our growth. Later on, we start getting on and on expanding our market. We opened up